with most investors going about life, investing, and retirement planning as if nothing unusual has happened to our financial system, not realizing the repercussions of the 11 trillion that's been pumped into the US financial system in the past 18 months alone. I just want to share with you a report we have just put out. At least 4 billionaires have stated publicly that Americans aren't paying enough attention to this development. And now a former Goldman Sachs banker says sooner than most people think, millions of Americans will potentially be pushed down out of the middle class, out of private retirement, and out of a decent life based on independence and privacy into a collectivist nightmare he calls financial lockdown. So find out how to protect yourself, your money, and your family with a free copy of his new report. In it, he'll show you the 4 steps he recommends that you take immediately. So if you'd like a free copy of the report, you simply have to go to 2022wakeupcall.com. Again, that's 2022wakeupcall.com. Hi, this is Daniela Cambone, and welcome back to Stansberry Research. Well, please welcome to the show for the first time, Dr. Thomas Homer-Dixon. He's an executive director of the Cascade Institute at Royal Roads University. He also has his latest book, Commanding Hope, The Power We Have to Renew a World in Peril. Doctor, welcome to my show. Nice to meet you. It's an honor to interview you.
And thank you very much. I'm glad to be with you today.
Let's talk Russia-Ukraine, the bigger issue at hand here. One of your recent tweets really stood out for me, and I just want to quote it. You said, let's be clear about what we're doing here. We're backing a paranoid man who's holding a gun to our chest and already thinks we're out to kill him into a corner. It's possible to be morally right on every action and utterly stupid in the consequence. What do you make of the U.S.'s dealings with Russia right now?
So I actually think that for the most part, NATO has done and President Biden have done a very good job in consolidating democratic opposition and the opposition of democratic countries to the Russian invasion. My only caveat would be that we need to make it very clear that we're not in the game of regime change in Moscow, because we have a man here who has the capacity, frankly, to destroy a large fraction of the population on the planet, and certainly to incinerate the entire United States and most of NATO. He's already said that he regards this as a state of war with the West, that the sanctions are a declaration of war. He's indicated that if he goes down, he's entirely prepared to take the world with him. So I think we need to say, this is about Ukraine. You get your forces out of Ukraine, the sanctions are lifted, and then whatever happens within Russia is your business and the business of the Russian people. There are too many people going around like Senator Lindsey Graham who are suggesting that we should be, encouraging the assassination of Putin. Well, that is just nuts. That's just going to, he's clearly a paranoid man. He's sitting at the end of a long table 15 feet away from his security advisors. This is a guy who's just a little bit crazy.
Right. Do you think the risk here is we don't know the enemy we're dealing with, and that's why rationale is needed at all costs right now?
I think we actually do understand. I think that Putin experts have a fairly good understanding of what's going on in his mind, including what his motivations are for attacking Ukraine. I think that there are a number of people have said that he's changed fundamentally in the last 2 or 3 years, especially with the COVID crisis, which is when he started to isolate himself. He's in a little bubble of hardline security advisors who consult with him. This is a man who seems to have developed a deep sense of paranoia. There's no other way of interpreting the way he sits at that table, right? And at the same time, he has almost 1,600 strategic nuclear warheads ready to go. I think we have to be extraordinarily careful here.
What do you make of talk that we're on the brink of World War III?
Well, you need to unpack that. Wouldn't be a World War III like World War I or World War II, which would involve large conventional forces battling their way across extended front lines in, say, Eastern Europe. Frankly, because Russia just doesn't have the force to do that. He's going to have trouble seizing Ukraine, and he's going to certainly not be able to occupy Ukraine. His army simply isn't big enough. He has probably less than half of what he needs to occupy the country effectively. And we've seen that there's extraordinary levels of rigidity and incompetence in the management of a military campaign. All of a sudden, a lot of Eastern Europeans who are on the front line are saying, whoa, we could probably deal with this if necessary at the conventional level. If there is a World War III, it's going to be nuclear. And it would probably start with the use of a relatively small tactical nuclear weapon in Ukraine as a way of Putin demonstrating that he's prepared to cross the nuclear threshold and go all the way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Do you think that this will be a wake-up call to the US and to European nations that they have to work closer together?
100%. So I think one of the unexpected things that has happened here is a kind of democratic rallying. We're seeing a lot of the more authoritarian populist democratic leaders in the world, like Viktor Orban in Hungary, Marine Le Pen in France, heading for the exits because they were cozying up to Putin, and now we have a sense for what this guy's about. You get dictatorship, you get war. And I mean, the relationship between dictatorship and war is actually very strong. Democracies tend not to go to war with each other. It's one of the few things we can say in the social sciences that's pretty close to an ironclad law. And so all of a sudden, people are realizing around the world, this is what's at stake. We hand our power over to people like this, and you get this kind of catastrophe. So I think in a remarkable sort of way, it's woken up the democratic world to the necessity to pull together and marshal our forces to protect the extraordinary institutions we have.
Yeah, it will be interesting also to see relations with Russia, in 2-3 years from now. What will that look like?
I have no idea. I mean, look, these are really serious sanctions. And there's every prospect, especially with banning the sale of Russian oil or the purchasing of Russian oil, there's every prospect that this economy could collapse. This is a major element of the world economy, especially when it comes to energy exports and food supply. Like Ukraine and Russia together provide 29% of global wheat exports. We have no idea of what the second and third order consequences of this are going to be. Now, we're putting an awful lot of weight on the possibility, hope invested in the possibility that Putin will be assassinated or will be taken out by his elites or shuffled off to his dacha in the countryside. I don't see this man going easily. He's ruthless and he's smart. So this is not going to be a simple transition, even if there is a really substantial opposition developing within the elites and within the Russian public. So in the meantime, the economy is collapsing. We're in a really, really different world now, and it involves enormous uncertainties and really enormous dangers.
Just a pivot here. Do you think this will, give way to China invading Taiwan? Could you see that happening next?
Well, I was worried about that, but there's no evidence of any kind of mobilization within China. China has, as some commentators have pointed out, China has an enormous interest in maintaining the in a sense, the global rule of law, the rules-based order, because it's benefited hugely in terms of increasing its wealth and economic power and even military power around the world because of its wealth that is generated through globalization. So it actually doesn't want to kill the goose that laid the golden egg here. It's deeply opposed to the violation of sovereign borders. So it finds itself in a difficult place with respect to Ukraine, because it doesn't like the action, but it's a quasi-ally of Vladimir Putin. I don't think China is going to take advantage of this situation, in part because I think it will be surprised and substantially deterred by the rallying of democratic nations and the consolidation of opposition to Russia. It's sort of a warning. If you do this to Taiwan, the same may happen to us, or same may happen to China.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us today. I appreciate your thoughts.
All the best.
And thank you for watching. We'll have much more for you, so be sure to stay tuned to Stansberry Research. And don't forget to sign up for premier content at danielacambone.com. That's it for me. Thanks for watching.
Opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the contributor and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of Stansberry Research, its parent company, or affiliates.